Hey guys, and welcome to another video guide. And today I'm going to discuss how to use Lushens, right? Not just double Lushen, but also I'm going to discuss a bit about single Lushen and triple Lushen as well. Um, Now, not everyone's going to have Lushen or even multiple Lushens, but this is also a good inside guide to see, for people to see how to counter Lushens on defense. The sort of units that Lushens will fear. So not only is this to help people on offense, but also on AD as well. Now, there's a couple ways to build Lushens, and basically it depends on the team lineup you're using with your Lushen, right? So this is a very standard double Lushen team. This is probably the most common one: Bernard, Seek, double Lushen. You can, there's ways to modify it based on the people you're hitting, right? It really depends what units they have on AD, like whether they have a speed leader, do they have a speed booster on the team, and also whether they have fire units, or do they have a Leo on the team. So we'll go through them. Hopefully we can find targets that I can show you, how you change it up. But you can build it like this, or you can also take out Seek and put Megan in. There's advantages and disadvantages for both types of teams. Now I use Seek because Seek is he's a fire damage dealer, so he's neutral to fire units, which Lushens will naturally be weak against, right? Because of elemental disadvantage. And therefore, Seek can help finish off those units. So a lot of troublesome units that you'll find on AD would be Chloe, Chi Wu, Kuma, even Vanessa too as well. Lushens can kill very squishy fire units. Things like Zyros, basically any fire damage dealer on defense. Zyros is usually the only one you see that is YOLO built, but yeah, pretty much any attacker built fire unit, double Lushen should be able to kill them, even through glancing hits and stuff. Unless you get really unlucky and glance all your hits. So yeah, Seek can take out the tankier ones, and he also does a really good buff. He does the best offensive buff, right? Because he buffs at both attack power and crit rate. Now the advantage of buffing crit rate is obviously your Lushens don't need as much crit rate, right? You can build them to make them 70% crit rate, and then with this buff they'll have 100% crit rate. Therefore, your substats, they don't have to be so high intensive in crit rate, right? You can sacrifice crit rate for more speed substats, because there's a limit to the amount of speed, or any substat really, on your runes, right? It depends on the quality of the rune when it first came out, and also where the rolls go into, and also the variation in the stats, right? And therefore, you can't just make all your Lushens 100% crit rate and 200 and something speed, right? It's going to be very, very difficult for you to do that. So having Seek on your team helps you lower the rune requirements on your Lushens, and therefore you can make them the speed Lushen while also doing good enough damage that 2 amps can kill most units. And just quickly on his skills, double bite does a lot, pretty good burst damage. On my stats, he does about 15,000 per bite on a defense broken unit. Without defense break, it's about 7,000 to 8,000 per hit, and bite is about the same amount by just a single attack. And he can leech life with this, which is it can be a bit clutch though. He's a very squishy unit, so any AoE, like say a Varamos stun, will hit him for quite a lot of his health pool. So being able to recover health can help when it becomes a war of attrition with the last remaining units. Okay, and just quickly, you want to build him fast, right? That's why I have him on Swift to help him boost his speed up, because he has to be at least slightly faster than your Lushens, right? He has to move first to buff. So you to keep in mind, keep that in mind when you're trying to sync your units, alright? So now just to elaborate on syncing a bit, with the speed requirement on your Lushen, it actually depends more on the speed of your Bernard than Lushens itself. So the way it works is Bernard will boost with his third ability, right? 30% attack bar. So yeah, you want your Lushens to be a bit more than 70% of their attack bar before Bernard's boost. Right, so to be honest, I don't have the exact math for this, but the general guide is to have something like to be within 70% of Bernard's speed, but preferably higher. So you want to be, say, within 75% of Bernard's speed, right? So you just take whatever Bernard's speed is, you multiply that by say 0.75. Now that's generally how I calculate it. It's not 100% foolproof because it's going to depend on whether the opponent has Nemesis runes or double Nemesis runes, because those are the things that will potentially interrupt your combo. If they don't have any Nemesis runes, right, then as long as you're above 70% of Bernard's speed, then your Lushens won't get interrupted, right? They'll you get to do your turns before they move, and that's very important because if anything moves in between, that can mess up your combo. So for example, a Praha might heal in between with Nemesis runes, or an Ariel can do the same, or a Veramos could take hits and go down to really low health and then proc a lot of Nemesis attack bar boosts and stun your second Lushen, and then that interrupts your combo, right? Then you have to wait for your next turn before you can actually amp again, and by then your team might get dismantled by their opponents, or they might heal up. So it is very important to have a very fast Bernard if you're trying to climb really high. It's not 100% necessary because you can prey upon teams that don't have a lot of speed in them, right? So for example, this team I'm showing you here, typically a Veramos will not have more than say 210 speed. Obviously the very strong, like well-runed Veramos can get say 230 plus, but that's quite rare. So assuming your Bernard, I mean, it's quite easy to get Bernard above that. A 240 Bernard is quite easily obtainable in for Conqueror players as well. As long as you can get your Bernard to that speed, and your Lushens are something below that, say 190 speed or 180 speed, then they'll be able to move after Bernard's boost, and you can still attack this sort of team. So if there was a Bernard in here instead of the Escher, then you might be a bit wary, because then it becomes a matter of whether your Bernard is faster than their Bernard. If you're not confident with that, with your speed on your Bernard, then you would avoid a Bernard comp, right? But any sort of mid-range comp like this, where the highest speed on their team is probably around 200, like low 200, then you can hit them. Now to rune Lushen himself, right? Now, as far as the sets are concerned, Rage Blade is the most efficient in terms of you're getting the attack bonuses, or like attack based bonuses, so you get crit rate and crit damage, right? Both of them help your Lushen's damage, but you don't have to use Rage. You can also use Fatal, which is still fine. It's still increasing your attack power, especially because with Lushen, well, at least with a speed Lushen, you're going to use a speed rune on slot 2, right? And therefore you're missing out on a lot of attack power, because instead of having a speed there, you could have 63% attack power, right? So having Fatal is actually still pretty good. Like the speed Lushens actually favor Fatal. Fire. No, sorry, my bad. They favor attack power a bit more because they don't have as much as like a standard attack damage, attack crit damage, attack nuka, right? Because you're sacrificing attack for speed. So therefore, that the attack power from Fatal actually is just as good as having crit damage. Both work fine. It's just whether you have the quality substats, right? That's what you're chasing. And obviously, Blade helps with boosting your crit rate. So if you have good quality attack, Blade runes and either Rage or Fatal, that's the most ideal for damage. But you can also use Swift runes. With Swift runes, you're gaining speed off it, right? And therefore your substats don't need as much speed to reach, your goal speed for whatever, depending on how fast your Bernard is. So for me, with my Bernard at 287, I want my Lushens to have at least 210 speed. The higher the better, because it gives me more range that lessens whether the opponent will interrupt me with Nemesis procs, right? Because if they're they have a really fast unit with a speed lead, say a Praha with 230 speed with a speed lead, I could be in trouble if he has Nemesis on the on his secondary set, right? And he might interrupt in between. So having more speed, even though it may not be necessary to make sure your Lushens move, it can make the difference with Nemesis units. That's what the point I'm trying to or what I'm trying to make. My bad. I have a bit of a brain fart. Also, other sets can work. You may have seen a lot of people use, say, broken sets. Like, say, you could use multiple blade sets, or just a mix of random runes with no set bonuses. Right, it still works as long as you reach the minimum crit rate and speed requirement that for your Lushens to move after your Bernard, right? After that, it just becomes whether you want the set bonuses to improve your damage. So if you can farm the runes for it, then by all means use a full set. But you can do this with broken sets or non-damaging sets. For example, one of the best Lushen users that I've seen, Burke, uses a Despair Lushen as his first Lushen. Right? Despair still works. You just need good substats, right? You just need your speed to be high enough and 70% crit rate. That's what you're looking for. Now, if you change your team with Megan, right? This changes the way you rune your Lushens, because your substats will be different because of the way, because of the difference in their buffs, right? So with Megan, she buffs attack, but she does not buff crit rate. But she does buff. She does do an attack bar increase of 20%. So you're getting 50% attack bar from your Bernard and and Megan, right? And therefore you don't need as much speed on your Lushens, right? But you do need more crit rate because you don't have crit buff. So the way to rune Megan Lushens is to get preferably 100% crit rate on your Lushen, but if you can't, then at least get it to 85%, and therefore you would at least crit win for sure. But obviously the higher the better, right? 100% is the best for consistency, and you can give up a bit of speed. So if I was going to use Megan with my Lushens, right? So currently with Bernard, I need them to be at 210. If I drop my Lushens to say 190 speed, but I increase the crit rate to 100%, then I can use Megan instead. Now, as far as the differences in terms of actually fighting, right? Now, Seek does damage to fire units. Megan does contribute good, okay-ish damage, but not good burst. Right? She can dot up the fire units, do a little bit of damage because of elemental advantage, but not a lot because she's not an attacker. So she doesn't help with killing Chloe's and Kuma's as much as a Seek does, but she does provide a defensive buff, right? She does do defense buff, and that can help you survive when, say, like a Perna or a Kuma do their attacks. Kuma's probably going to do trigger fire, and Perna's going to go berserk with violent procs and do a lot of damage. Without a defense buff, my Lushens will get pretty much one shot by the good Pernas. Otherwise, it will be a two-shot, right? So they can drop really quickly. But with a defense buff, it pretty much doubles the survivability while the defense buff is up. So that's the differences in how to rune them. Now I'm gonna go through and show you it in action, and I'm gonna discuss the comps where I can't hit them, right, because of certain reasons, and why I can hit certain ones. So this one, there's no fire units. The only unit that you might be scared of is if the Veramos is very fast. But if you've got a speed leader, you're not really going to be too scared of a Veramos, because as I said, most Veramos are about 200 speed, right? Obviously, the higher you go in Guardian or Conqueror, the harder it gets. People have better runes at that stage. But in a team like this, you're not really worried about it because there's no speed lead. Okay. So even if it was on Nemesis, you probably wouldn't have died to it. Okay, so here I was discussing how Lushens can still kill YOLO fire attackers, right? Leica, I would say, is one of them. Typically, he's got good base HP though, so they might be a little bit tankier than say a Zyros, but you should still be able to kill Leicas with double Lushen. If not, they'll be pretty low, and you should be able to finish it off with your Bernard or your Seek. Like Bernard should have an extra turn before they get the move, because if your Bernard's very fast at least, like a 280 plus Bernard. Now Chloe is not going to die unless I get really lucky with no glancing hits. So that's why Seek is there to finish her off. As you can see, Leica took like more than half of his HP from one amp, so you can actually kill units like Leica with double Lushen. Don't be afraid of fire attackers, but you would be scared of fire bruisers, because they'll have a lot more HP, and you probably won't do nearly as much damage, right? And otherwise, if Sig happen to die, right? Say if a Beast Monk does trigger fire and kills him, like Lushen still can kill the Kumas, it's just harder, right? You're trying to make sure that your Lushen doesn't glance. If he doesn't glance, then at least he's still going to do at least a decent amount of damage, as long as you have everyone up. If it's only like a single Lushen, obviously you're going to lose against a Kuma, but if you have two Lushens and a Bernard, you have a chance. Alright, now on this team, you can be scared of very fast Chloes, right? Especially when they have speed lead. So, Chloes, their speed ranges from as low as like 190 up to say 290, right? You can't really tell unless you know how the opponent has ruined the Chloe. So it might only really apply to Guardian players, where they're more likely to check up on each other's runes, because you can see people in rankings and stuff. But for when you're low in Conqueror, you probably wouldn't expect the Chloe to be that fast. If the Chloe is faster than your Bernard, right, with the speed lead and whatnot, then you would avoid them in the future, right? You just take note of who you hit. But usually I will hit them because most Chloes are not faster than my Bernard, and I guess that will depend on how fast your Bernard is. So if your Bernard is say 240, you'd probably be a bit scared to hit this sort of team. Now Filmas does survive on an Endure, but he should not proc enough violence to kill your team. Right? He might kill one guy, two guys if he's really lucky, but you still have plenty of units to hit him with when he's on 1 HP. Alright, this is pretty much the same, so I'm just going to move on to see any other defenses that are interesting to to double Lushen, right? Now Molly is an interesting unit because she typically is risky to hit for wombo combos that rely on big bursts of like one hit abilities, right? Whereas Lushen has a triple hit, right? And the reason why Molly is really annoying for wombo combo teams is because of the glancing hit, 20%, right? And you know how RNG works, 20% means more like 80%, right? So this sort of team I would typically avoid with a wombo combo team, like Galleon based wombo combo, but as long as the other units are not scary for Lushens, I am okay with using either double Lushen or triple Lushen. In this case, I'm going to go with a triple Lushen, right? So with triple Lushen, usually I use Megan, right? Because she does attack bar boost and attack power buff, whereas you know Bernard only buffs attack bar and speed, right? I mean you can still use Bernard, but you just don't have, you're losing out on the attack buff. So unless their opponents are really squishy, you probably want to be safe with an attack power buff. Obviously, my Lushens only have 70% crit rate, so I do lose out in that regard. But that's why I bring an extra Lushen for more amps, right? So we'll see how this goes. And like triple Lushen is good against teams where there's no attack bar boost, right? And you know that your Megan will move first. And my Megan is 230 speed. Obviously, if you have a faster Megan, then it's easier to run it. But yeah, for any store team with say like double Beast Monk, Veromos, and another healer, that's a good team to use triple Lushen against. Because you don't need the speed on your Bernard, right? You're gonna move first because your Megan should be decently fast, right? Like Megan should outspeed everyone on the opposing team, and that's when if you know your Megan can outspeed the opponent, then that's when you bring her at triple Lushen. This is assuming you have triple Lushen. Not everyone has triple Lushen, but don't disregard the third Lushen. You probably don't need 4, okay? But 3, I would keep the third one. Because most people will stop at 2 Lushens, but you know, triple is actually decent. Now this team, this is a good example of a team where it's a little bit scarier because there's 2 fire units here, which are very well, they're both tanky, right? Especially the Kumar. My goal here is to definitely try to kill the Kumar first after I wipe out the other 2. Now it is a little bit scary because some Orions can be pretty fast, right? Especially once you pair it with a speed lead, that then you might be a bit wary to bring a Bernard double Lushen team. So I guess the higher you are, that's probably when you'd start thinking about it. In lower arena, it's probably worth the risk and seeing whether you can do it or not. But yeah, most Orions, because the base speed is actually quite close to Bernard. It's 106 compared to 111 on a Bernard, so only 5 speed difference, and therefore when you factor in a 24% boost, well, it's basically an extra 25-ish speed from the Chiwu's speed lead, right? Then you have to be careful, right? Because like very fast Orions can be like 250-ish speed, and if your Bernard's not quite up to scratch, then you might get outsped by an Orion. Especially with the super fast ones can be even like 280 plus. But I think, knowing that I'm not exactly in a very high arena bracket at the moment, I should be able to do this. As you can see, I mean, there is a chance that Orion is built violent. If he's built violent, then he's not going to be faster than a Swift Bernard. But it's a bit of a gamble because it's like a 50-50 chance between violent and swift. You know, depends what they're using the Orion for. Thankfully, the Chiwu died to both my amps. That doesn't always happen. But you can see here with Kuma, he hits pretty hard with Trigger Fire, right? And if his AI was smart, like, or not so much his AI, but if he was very lucky with a violent proc, he could heal up after that. That's what makes Kuma very dangerous for Lushens. So he's probably one of the best counters towards a Lushen, double Lushen team, as long as it's built triple HP. Alright, now this team, Hwadam, on Guild Wars defense, he's very scary, right, as you can tell. But in arena defense, it's nowhere near as scary. You can still double Lushen this, or this sort of team. So basically, what will happen is Sierra's probably going to be the first to die, right? Because you'll pop the Fieldmaster Jewel, but he's not going to take lethal damage, so he doesn't get any health transfer from the Hwadam. But Sierra will transfer HP. But because you're attacking everyone fairly equally, Hwadam actually does nothing against double Lushen, right? So I'll just show you, and you'll see what I mean. So the first amp, he'll transfer HP to Sierra most likely, and he'll get pretty low. He's also taking damage from the amp. As you can see, everyone's very low. Even Sierra's still full health because health got transferred to her at the end. But you know, Sierra's not going to survive an amp because Sierra's not really built that tanky. You know, people will build her with a lot of attack power. So they'll just die to double Lushen, as you can see. So you definitely don't need to be fearful of Hwadam by himself. If there was like a Molly in there, you might be scared. Okay, let's have a look who else there is. This is sort of the same as what I hit before. I won't bother hitting this, but this team you can double Lushen because once you kill the threats, right? Or there's only one threat in here, which is the Sierra. As long as the Chloe's not faster than your Bernard, you'll kill the Sierra, and then you don't care about the rest. You can take your time with the double fire units, because Chasun will die to double Lushen as well, or the second amp. Okay, this sort of team, you would probably avoid it in rush hour because, I mean, first off, there's a Camilla there. You don't know if it's going to be a tank Miller or not. But not only that, like she reduced damage with a passive, right? But in addition, there's a Molly there to put balancing hit. So you're probably not going to kill anything with your double amp. Especially there's also Arena there. So I probably wouldn't use this. I wouldn't double Lushen this because it's not that safe. They'll eventually just out attrition you, and you'll lose. So this team you probably want to bring a Wombo combo team against instead. So I'm not going to bother with that one. Let's just have a look at people who hit me. This one is risky to double Lushen, but if you're depending on how tanky that Camilla is, you might be able to do it. I would typically avoid it just because it's HP lead and a Camilla. That's already a lot of HP. I'm not confident that my Lushens personally will be able to do enough damage to the Camilla. Maybe in lower brackets, but I know Beanie has he or she's a very strong player. I can't remember whether it's a guy or girl. This team you can double Lushen. I mean, even if the monkey is a tank monkey, you should better kill it, right? His survivability would be similar to say a Chasun after you factor in his passive, his damage reduction passive. All right. I want to find. I'm not sure if I would speed this, but if you are not confident in outspeeding, what you can do is so you take out Seek and you put in a speed lead like Orochi, right? Alternatively, you can use say like Vanessa or Samath as well, but I think Orochi is a little bit better because he can actually do decent damage, whereas Vanessa, her damage is not particularly great. But I guess it would depend on your opponent. Maybe you don't want to bring Quad Win. But well, at least Orochi is more obtainable than Vanessa or Samav. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say he's strictly better, okay? But what I used to also use is Vanessa, and I take out one Seek, and I just use I'll use something like this, right? I mean, this could work, so I might just try with this. Because I'm confident that with attack power buff, I should be able to kill the Orion, and at least kill. I should be able to pop the Endure on the Fiomars. Okay, not quite. So that like my units are not tuned for this, right? Because my Vanessa is not built for this team. I was just trying to, I guess, show as an example. Oh well, this is sort of turning out a little bit better than I thought it would, but Lushen dead. Alright, so I can use the Seek to finish off Zyros. Kill that and revive. Okay, unfortunate. She's going crazy on Violent. So obviously if this doesn't work, you can still use like an Orochi as well. If you have a fast Orochi, he could finish off like the Orion, for example. But mine's not tuned for PvP, so it's not gonna work. Oh. Bit of a shame I couldn't kill it in time. But, oh my god, so much Violet. Alright, we're just gonna kill off this guy. Never mind. So it's just unfortunate that he violent so much, but I guess you can see how this is supposed to work. And my Vanessa's a tank Vanessa, so she's not going to do any damage. That's fine. So as the actually I can't hit him again, can I? As I find him. Okay, never mind. I was gonna check out other defenses. Maybe there'll be someone similar. Well, this is just like a battle of who's faster, right? Now, if you're okay, this is something I can use as a good example. If you're not confident that your banana's faster, right? You cheat with a speed lead. So you know, Orochi you can use because he's got attack speed for win units, right? And I'm just gonna use buffless Lushens because you know I can see he's got Lushens, and you know Lushen is not gonna survive a buffless amp anyway. So I'm not worried about not having the attack buff. I'm still gonna do enough damage. I just need to win turn 1. Right? So that's why you bring a speed lead against something like this. Hopefully I'm not wrong. As you can see, yep, there we go. And I guess we can just finish off this guy and order the rest. I want to find a Leo defense to show you as well. Just give me a second. I want to. Obviously, I can't really prepare for this because it just depends who hit me and what I find on the list. But that's the other sort of defense I wanted to show. Perna, I typically would also probably avoid unless you can kill everything else. Right, so as an example, there's a Perna here, right? I'm not confident of killing the Vanessa, because if it's tank Vanessa, double Lushen is not going to kill it, and therefore she's going to revive other stuff, and then I'll be in trouble. So if the Vanessa was start like another non-fire unit, then you could double Lushen that, right? You kill everything else, and the Perna will be by itself. It'll probably be very low after 2 amps. If you're lucky, you can kill or take 1 life off it with your 2 amps, and then after that, like all your win units are going to be getting hit by the Perna, and therefore Seek should be able to finish off a Perna by itself. But there's other units with the Perna, then it's very risky. Okay, just let me try to find a Leo comp. If I can't, I'm just going to talk about it. Here we go. Double Leo. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, so with Leo, right? The way to beat Leo is you want to bring a water unit with will runes. Okay. You probably won't be able to do this against all Leo comps, but I can do it against this comp because I know that Megan's going to move first because she's going to have the highest speed. So there's going to be 2 Leos. Hopefully, I'm really hoping my Megan will survive 2 Leos. Okay. With a single Leo, for sure I should be able to survive. But if there's 2 doing crazy damage, then my Megan might not survive. But just to show you, so I have will runes on her, right? So she's going to draw the aggro from Leo, and with will runes, her attack bar does not get pushed back. So therefore, she's still going to move first. If I had no will runes, then they'll attack her and push her back, right? And then my sinking is going to be out of order because my Lushen will move after that. So I want to try this. I don't know if it will work because there's 2 Leos. I don't normally see 2 Leos on defense. Normally it's just 1. So this will be interesting. Okay, thankfully he did not violate, right? So now I can boost and I can triple amp. I mean, you can also use Seek, or maybe not Seek, but maybe some other crit rate booster as well, and that could work. But yeah, it would generally depend on who the Leo is paired with. As long as he's paired with non-fire units, you can probably bring triple Lushens. If there's a speed booster in there, then you probably have to change it around a bit. But you probably have to put a Bernard in there as well. So if there's a Bernard on the Leo team, you probably run Bernard lead and then Megan and double Lushen. That's usually how I would tackle a Leo comp. This is a good example, right? Thankfully I found one just at the end. So I'll use my standard team except I swap Megan around because I need to draw the aggro. Alternatively, you can also use the Water Horus. Okay, I'll talk about that afterwards. To be honest, I don't know if my Bernard is faster than his, but I'm gonna try. Because that's the other check, right? Whether who's gonna be the one that boosts first. Whoever boosts first will win. Right, so I boost, and therefore I'm supposed to win. I won't jinx it. Okay. Yep, got all of them. Okay, so you can see, I think I've covered pretty much most of the types of defenses. Just to show you, so you can fuse him. Alright, so there's this guy, right? Oops. So he's got crit rate, crit buff. It's basically the same thing as Seek, except that because he's a water unit, he can draw aggro from Leos. But that's pretty much the only reason you would use the Water Horus in the Lushen team. I would say it's better to use the other 2, Seek or Megan instead, because Seek, he can deal damage. Water Horus, he does a bit of damage, but he's a support type, so he doesn't do a lot, right? Even though he's elemental advantage against fire units. And then I mean, I guess it's it's a decision whether you use him over Megan. I think Megan's a bit better, because I think she's a bit more useful in she's a bit more useful for Leo comps because she's got the attack bar boost. I mean, you can still use the Water Horus, but then that would just depend on whether your Lushens are fast enough to move straight after that. Because with Megan's attack bar boost, your Lushens are guaranteed to move because they got 20% attack bar over everyone else. Doesn't matter what their speed is. So that's why attack bar boosters are so important in Leo matches. Okay, now I'm going to talk about a few units that are typically used as Lushen traps. Okay, so these are the units that you would be wary of attacking. First one here is Aerial, right? Because Aerial, being a water unit, people instantly think, alright, I can Lushen this. It's a water unit. Especially because, you know, Aerial typically will have very high defense. I mean, his base defense is quite high. So, you know, since Lushens ignore defense, you know, they like things like Archangels, right, who have a lot of defense. But then, if you put your Ariel on double Nemesis, or even the single Nemesis and really fast, then he can move in between and heal up with the third skill, right? You know, heals everyone up by 30% plus whatever recovery. I don't know the exact math. So this can ruin, you know, your plans with double Lushen, right? Suddenly there's like a tank there that gains a whole bunch of health and you can't kill it with the second Lushen app. For example, Rina or Kuma, you know, they'll get fully healed, or quite close to fully healed. On the same note, Praha can do the same sort of thing with Nemesis runes. So usually Praha's either double Nemesis or Despair Nemesis, right, for AD. And then it just depends on how fast they are, and also whether they have speed lead. So after one app, Praha should get pretty low, gain a lot of attack bar, and then she'll heal with Daydream, right? This is a really large burst healing, so same sort of concept with Ariel. She can heal up straight after, right? So that can also, that's another thing that can interrupt you. Something that's less used, Chloe can also interrupt with the same sort of setup. Fast unit with Nemesis, she can interrupt by putting Fnatic up straight after, right? She's typically not built with Nemesis, but because she's usually built Swift Will. But that's also something to keep in mind, that I mean, it might be a strat that some people use. It's very rare, but it could be on the rise in the future. Another very common unit that is used for Lushen traps is Veramos. So with Veramos, you try to make him pretty fast with Nemesis, and preferably a speed lead. And the reason to do that is so that, you know, after he gains the attack bar, he can stun the second Lushen with the Super Crush, right? So typically, if you want to be really safe with your Lushens, put your second Lushen on Will, right? Therefore, you don't have to worry about a Veramos stuns at least. You might still get interrupted by, say, a Praha heal, or a Praha Predicted Future would also potentially interrupt you if they have Despair runes. But in general, you know, Will can help you mitigate at least the Veramos traps. So those are the most common Lushen traps, so be wary when you hit those sort of defenses, especially at Guardian. There's more Lushen traps in Guardian. That's why most people will say you probably don't want to, people will say that double Lushen is good until Guardian, unless you have really good double Lushens. I know Burke still double Lushens a lot of people in Guardian 2 and 3, you know, all the way up to Legendary in the week. But that's not for everyone. His runes are, you know, very high quality. So unless you're very confident with your runes, You know, you probably want to stick to just getting up to Guardian with your Lushens. You know, it's still a really good strategy because it's a very fast clear. There's no RNG involved apart from, say, Nemesis attack bar gauge gaining, because you don't have to rely on Galleon to defense break, so that's a very huge plus. You know, everything ignores defense, so you don't need defense break or anything like that. It's kind of like playing Solitaire, and that's, I guess, the main draw to Lushen, and also being, you know, easily obtainable, or not so much easily obtainable, but it's more easier to obtain than the standard like Galleon Wombo combos. Just a quick note, I won't show you the actual team in action, but an alternative, I did mention before, I said you can do single Lushen. This team is not so common anymore, but you can still use it. Sorry, my unit's in storage that I needed to show. I know this video has gone for a very long time, so I don't know whether I'm going to post it or not, but if I do, you know, it's a very long detailed guide for you. Right, so Tyrone is the other unit that is typically seen in single Lushen teams. So it'll be something like this. This is a very old school team, it's not so common anymore, but the idea is you buff with Bernard, seek buffs, Lushen amps, and then Tyrone freezes, so you gain another turn. And then after that, your Lushen can surprise box to try to finish off any stragglers, and then Tyrone can also help you finish off with either his second skill, Cyclone, or his first skill. His first skill is very strong as well. This team is not as popular anymore, and I would say the main reason is because freeze is not that reliable, because people can violent proc out of it and just, you know, kill you before you can move, or heal up, and suddenly it just resets your progress. But if you need the speed lead to outspeed your opponent, you can do something like this. Or if you only have one Lushen, then you can run something like this. It will still work for the most part, at least in Conqueror. So that pretty much covers double Lushen. This video actually went a lot longer than I thought it would go, so I apologize if this is too long for you to watch. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in comments, and I'm happy to discuss that with you. In the future, I'll do another guide for alternate arena offenses. This week I focus on Lushens, just because they're probably the most common one you can build, or people can build. So thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.